Hi, I'm Christine. I'm the host of Soul of Travel podcast, and I'm happy today to be hosting a conversation in a special series with Explorer X to talk to their travelers about their experiences. So I'm going to give you a moment, Brad, to introduce yourself and just tell me where you live and a little bit about what you do.
Hi, I'm Brad Hillman. I live in Asheville, North Carolina. Um, Been here about 8 years. I own a few breweries, Hillman Beer, brew pubs here in Asheville. Been brewing for about 17 years.
Great. Thank you. Well, to start to learn a little bit more about your travel experience, I'd love to hear about what you were looking for when you found Explorer X and kind of what was going on in your life that you were looking for, maybe a different type of travel experience.
Sure. I had not done much traveling up to that point, at least international travel. And so it was about 3 or 4 years ago that I reached out. Well, actually, I just was searching online for a type of, I was looking for an adventure type travel, um, and didn't know really where to start. So I just basically was typing in different keywords and basically adventure, international travel. Um, and I found Explorer X through that way. And then I saw that they had the Destination Unknown program that really intrigued me. It sounded very interesting and exactly what I was looking for. Basically, some kind of program that, you know, picks things out for me and, um, would do things that I normally probably wouldn't pick on my own. So,
Yeah, so you're really drawn to the idea of it being taken care of from beginning to end so that you could just show up and have this experience without having to be really worried about all of the details.
right, exactly. I have to pick out so much stuff during my normal days that for travel, I wanted to, take a break from that and let somebody else pick it and somebody else that knows what they're doing more so than I did and could open up my eyes to new ideas, possibilities, and
Mhm.
adventures.
Thank you. So you did the destination unknown experience, and so that's one where up until a certain point, you really have no idea where you're going, what you're doing, and it's really just this unknown surprise. Um, what was that process like for you as you were just preparing for the experience? Did the unknown element add to it? I know you said you were really excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. That was a really exciting part of it. I talked with the team at Michael and his team, and they just asked me some questions about, you know, figuring out what I liked in general, to give them a ballpark of what I'd be interested in. But leading up to it was very exciting, just not knowing where I was going to go, but knowing that I was going to go somewhere fun and adventure filled and the possibilities. And that's kind of the fun part of it, just not knowing, not pigeonholing yourself into one idea of what you're gonna do, and then this way, your brain can't start filling in all the, what ifs and gives you preconceived notions of what's gonna happen, so, it's just really excited to see, to kinda think about it in the overall travel sense without any specifics.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting to think about the way we start to shape our experience before we even leave. So then, in some ways, it seems like it could always let you down because you'll probably set the bar really high or just think one thing might happen and it doesn't. And when you don't know, there's a lot of freedom to just embrace the experience.
For sure. Yeah, and the whole thing, the leading up to it, the build up, you're not trying to plug in all your own versions of the story, it just I always found that kind of ruins everything, like,
Yeah.
when we know what
Where
exactly to do or
Mhm. Where did you go? At some point, you were kind of given an envelope that says, "Here's where you're going." Where did you go on your destination unknown experience?
I went to Ecuador and spent the whole time in the Andes Mountains, and I was in about 3 or 4 different locations through the Andes, the whole time for about 10 or 11 days.
Mhm.
Uh, that was really awesome. Beautiful country.
And what was that like when you learned that you were going to Ecuador? Was it somewhere you had thought about going before, or was it a real, like, surprise to even think about traveling to that destination?
Yeah, that was a real surprise. I would never have picked that on my own. I didn't know much about the country. actually, the only thing I knew about the country was the Galapagos, which I didn't go to as a whole different trip. But, knowing about the Andes and being on the equator and all the volcanoes was a very cool thing that that's the point there is that I would never have picked that myself, and I had a wonderful time and opened my eyes to a whole new world that I didn't know existed.
Yeah. What was one of the most memorable experiences you had in Ecuador?
I would say probably staying at a horse ranch up by Cotopaxi, one of the volcanoes up there in the Andes. That was really cool. Hacienda, Provenier, can't
Mhm.
remember. I think that's the name of the ranch, but got to work with horses, got to work with, some Ecuadorian cowboys, took me up on a ride up in it's just beautiful country, just out in the mountains. Got to see a condor fly over my head, giant condor. That was really awesome. Just working with the horses, and there's just such a peaceful country and peaceful environment, and just very surreal in a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Very,
It
very
sounds
warm.
like a really kind of, I guess, slow and intentional travel experience. Was that something that was new for you to really kind of be, so immersed in a destination?
Oh yeah, for sure. Very. I was a solo traveler too, so I had lots of time to kind of reflect on my own thing, my own life, where I was going, and so you have a lot of time during these kind of travel, especially when you travel by yourself, you're alone with your own thoughts a lot. So that was really awesome to kind of, to journal it every day and got to experience new things every day. But in between the events I was doing, there was still lots of time. And I think that's a good thing. If you kind of over cram or over commit yourself to a vacation, you don't really get anything out of it. And this felt really much more like traveling instead of just being a tourist, but, you know, it was a kind of a richer experience for sure. Um,
Mhm.
yeah.
When you talked about journaling, I know that ExploreX uses their Travel Better toolkit and guide. Is that something that you utilized when you were preparing for or on your journey?
Yeah, for sure. They give you something to look over beforehand and during your journey and afterwards, which is great because again, I would never have done that myself. And by, committing to the whole experience, following their lead and going through the different questions and different material they sent for you to read, and it was really awesome. And also insightful, to kind of set your intentions before you go on your trip to see what you're looking to get out of your journey. Kind of helps you start it off on the right foot, and then throughout your journey, thinking about questions and you know being more aware of your environment and being aware of what's going on, and really try to stay in the now, which was really an awesome thing. Um, and then afterward, the trip, a lot of reflection. They have a lot of questions about reflection, and on your plane on the plane ride back, just to think about what you did and kind of really learn about what you actually went through, and not just on to the next trip or on to back home, and really savoring all of what you get out of it. So that was great.
Yeah, I think so many people kind of, when they get back home, some of the emotional connection to the experience almost gets tucked away with the suitcase when you put it back. And there's so much that you can kind of still pull from that experience. I'm wondering when you were using, the tour guide, the Travel Better toolkit and guide and journaling, are those things that you were used to doing? Had you done that in your own life, or was this a new experience for you that you have brought back into your life since traveling?
I've journaled here and there beforehand, but not too much, setting intentions or anything like that. But since then, I've had definitely have used that more and more, setting intentions, setting, more journaling, which is, all goes back to appreciating the now and being in the present. And sometimes you don't have to travel just to appreciate what's around you, so it's kind of cool. And now it makes when I travel anywhere, even if it's a simple trip, I try to really pay attention and be aware of what's actually going on. It's too easy just to get lost in the world and next thing you know, you're home from a trip and you spent good money on it without paying attention to it,
Yeah,
which
it
is
feels very different to kind of have expectations versus set intentions, like, it creates a different shape for an experience.
right, for sure. Yeah, instead of like, there's deeper stuff to be aware of and to be set intentions for instead of just an actual event or a place to go see, it can be deeper than that for your own spiritual journey. No.
Yeah, and I know that you love this experience so much, you decided to do it again, and went on another destination unknown experience. That one was a little different because you kind of knew where you wanted to go, but didn't want to think about, again, what you were doing. You wanted that to be created for you. Can you tell me a little bit about why you chose another destination unknown experience and what that was like for you?
Yeah, so I got to go to Greenland. I saw that Michael wrote an article about it. And before I saw that article, I just kind of had this feeling or this desire to go to somewhere that was cold and kind of kept thinking of white and blue. And just, it was kind of just an image that I kept going through my mind. But so I saw that he was offering a trip there. And so I contacted him and I still wanted to do the everything unknown. Greenland's a huge country and lots of things to do. So I still wanted them to put together the whole itinerary and, keep me surprised. So that was awesome. And, I knew they let, just because of some of the logistics things, they let me know, the week beforehand or so, what the actual itinerary was, but I still didn't really know what I was doing,
Mhm.
which is pretty awesome. And just again, another way to really be present in every day that what you're doing instead of looking ahead and being like, "I can't wait for day 5 when I get to go do this," like, when day 2 is that you're in is awesome, and just that was great. And Greenland, such a I highly recommend Greenland. It's a magical place, and the icebergs alone are amazing and something that you just can't describe or see pictures of. You have to go witness it in person. It's pretty amazing. So,
Yeah. I think what you said too about staying present in the day, in the moment, even if you know you have one other thing that you're really looking forward to, it can sometimes dissipate the magic of where you are. Like if there's this hike or this waterfall or this glacier that you're really excited to see on day 3, it can sometimes take away from where you are in that moment. And so I think that's a really powerful insight to see that this style of travel actually allows you to have so much more presence, like you said.
yeah, for sure.
Well, I would love to hear if you were telling somebody else about um, who might be considering this type of experience, what would you say that they definitely need to, or what would you strongly recommend to them about this experience?
Yeah, I guess the biggest point for me was, 1, it takes a lot of pressure off of because if you wanna go do a big trip, it's usually costs a decent amount of money and you've been saving up for it, and you put a lot of kind of pressure on yourself that you wanna make sure you see everything and do everything. But I think therein lies, for me, the stress of doing that. And so by picking somebody that has experience and knows what they're doing and has already the team and you know, they know more about how to get the best out of that place, more so than any research you can do. And on top of that, not only that, you don't have the stress, it's so stressful to plan that trip out and make sure that you're gonna pick all the right spots and to do all the right things. Um, and, on top of that, even is more is to sit back and relax and let the adventure kinda come to you instead of trying to seek it out. Um, Again, it goes back to just going with the flow and, um, being able to do something that you probably would never pick yourself also. Get outside your comfort zone is really the best way to learn and grow as a person. So by doing this, you're basically setting yourself up for all those things and you're gonna have a great time and you keep your expectations low, but you're gonna have a wonderful time and I'm sure everything will be way better than you thought it could be. So you won't be disappointed for sure.
Yeah, I think it's so hard for us to give up control, especially in a travel experience, because we have such limited time to travel. And so that idea, I think, is a really unsettling idea for a lot of people when they think about travel. But I love hearing how much freedom it actually creates. It gives you even more freedom in your travel experience than you might normally have.
Yeah, that for sure, and I think it's a growth lesson in life too to kind of give up some of that control and, you know, the more we try to squeeze and hold on to things, the more life shows us how little control we actually do have. So if we go ahead and take the step forward and say, "Here you go," universe, and Michael and their team at Explorer kind of pick out the things for you, you can sit back and just kinda go on the ride instead of trying to steer and, which always kind of doesn't work out well in my experience, so
Yeah, I think that's a lesson the universe really loves to repeat for us, and I think travel is such a great place to learn it because there are gonna be so many things that are out of your control, so to just kind of, like, step into that from the beginning, it really creates a different dynamic. Um, you mentioned working with Michael and his team at ExploreX. How did the preparation, look for you in understanding what you wanted out of the travel experience, and, what was that experience like overall working with them before, during, and after the trip?
yeah, that was great, before I talked to them, I was wondering how they would pick a place for me, like, that's kind of but they have a great questionnaire they first send you and kinda get to know you better, and then we got together on a Zoom call with him and his team and kinda went over just getting to know each other and to kinda figure out what are the things I do like and don't like, and, so they can steer your trip, cater your trip more for your personality, and also, when you're filling out a questionnaire, you can say, like, "What's your comfort zone for this and that?" You might give yourself a little bit more comfort or, challenge yourself a little bit more on that, which is great, because then maybe you get put into a situation that's a little bit uncomfortable for you, but it'll be great for you in the long run and challenge you. And again, something that you probably wouldn't do yourself, but somebody said this is what we're doing today, you know, and you go do it. That's the best thing about life is you can do something you didn't know that was going to be cool or that you would never do, and then you do it. So
Yeah.
think
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then let's see if there's any other things I wanted to make sure that we talked about. Um, I think we covered everything. Is there any last things that you wanna make sure that you share about this type of experience or any lessons that you learned, or anything that you might be looking forward to, travel experiences with ExploreX in the future?
yeah, I think I said pretty much all the main points that I wanted to say. I do highly recommend it, and again, for people that the more you can let go of control, the better. And um, there's a lot of things to experience in this world, and what we have in our own head is there's way more out there. So uh, let somebody else pick it for you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your experience with us. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.